Jennifer's hand moved to her stomach for the third time in 10 minutes, and she forced herself to stop. Stop drawing attention. Nobody knows. Nobody can tell. Except her body was betraying her in small ways. The slight curve beneath her silk blouse that hadn't existed 3 months ago. The way her breasts felt fuller, tender, straining against her bra. The exhaustion that hit her at 8 p.m. like clockwork, making her want to crawl into bed instead of sitting in this upscale Seoul restaurant pretending to celebrate. 14 weeks. 3.5 months since Cape Town. Since the night that had changed everything. "You're doing it again," Nality said from across the table, her South African accent warm with concern. "The zoning out thing. What's going on with you?" Jennifer forced a smile, reaching for her glass of sparkling water. The fourth time tonight someone had questioned why she wasn't drinking wine. "Just tired. The conference panel this morning took more out of me than expected." "You killed that panel," Tabo interjected, grinning. "Seriously, that standing ovation? I've never seen security professionals get that excited about threat assessment matrices. They're easily impressed." "You're too modest." Nality raised her wine glass. To Jennifer, who's about to become the most sought-after security consultant in Seoul, once word spreads about that presentation. Jennifer lifted her sparkling water, clinking it against Nality's wine and Tabo's whiskey. Her former colleagues from the South African National Defense Force. Both had made the jump to private sector in Seoul years ago, and they'd been trying to convince her to do the same ever since. Now she had, not because of their persuasion, but because of the pregnancy test she'd taken in a Cape Town pharmacy bathroom 8 weeks ago. Positive. One night, one reckless, beautiful, devastating night with a man whose last name she'd never learned. Kong. That's all she knew. Just Kong. Dark eyes that had seen through every defense she'd built. Hands that had touched her like she was something precious and breakable and utterly necessary. A voice that had whispered her name in Korean and English in languages she didn't recognize, each syllable feeling like a claim. And then dawn had come and he'd been gone. No note, no number, no way to find him. She'd told herself it was for the best. One perfect night. No complications, no expectations. She'd flown back to her life. Finished her contract. Tried to forget the way he'd looked at her like she was the answer to a question he'd been asking his whole life. Then the nausea had started. Earth to Jennifer. Nality waved a hand in front of her face. "Seriously, are you okay? You've been distracted all week." "I'm fine. Just..." "Jennifer?" "Jennifer Park." The voice came from behind her, male and familiar in the worst possible way. Her stomach dropped. "No, not here. Not tonight." She turned slowly, and there he was, Samuel Hayes, university classmate from Johannesburg. 7 years ago. He'd been insufferable then, arrogant, entitled. The kind of man who thought his family's money made him interesting. He'd asked her out twice, been offended both times when she declined, and had spent the rest of their final year making subtle digs about her scholarships and her charity case presence at their expensive university. She'd heard through mutual acquaintances that he'd moved to Seoul for some finance position, married into a wealthy Korean family. And now he was standing beside her table, looking exactly the same, tall, conventionally handsome in that bland way, expensive suit that screamed family money, and that same smug expression she despised. "Samuel." She kept her voice neutral, professional. "It's been a long time." 7 years. "I heard you might be in Seoul. Someone mentioned seeing your name on the security conference schedule. I thought, no way. Jennifer Park doing corporate security consulting? Last I heard, you were still playing soldier in South Africa." Playing soldier. As if her 8 years in military intelligence had been a hobby. Tabo's jaw tightened. Nality's eyes narrowed dangerously. "I transitioned to private sector," Jennifer said evenly. "Risk assessment and threat analysis for corporate clients." "Fancy." His eyes traveled down her body. Slowly, deliberately, invasively. Stopped at her midsection where her blouse draped over the subtle curve she'd been so careful to hide. His eyebrows shot up. His mouth curved into something cruel. "Oh, so you've gotten fat." The words cut through the restaurant's ambient noise like a gunshot. Conversations at nearby tables stuttered. Heads turned. A server froze mid-step. Samuel's wife, beautiful, petite, dripping with designer labels, appeared at his elbow and giggled. High-pitched, delighted, like this was charming instead of vicious. Heat flooded Jennifer's face. Not embarrassment. She'd spent too many years in military briefing rooms full of condescending men to be embarrassed easily, but rage. Pure, incandescent fury that this mediocre excuse for a man thought he had the right to comment on her body. In public, like it was amusing. What happened to the gym obsession? Samuel continued, oblivious or uncaring of the tension radiating from her table. You used to be so fit. All that military discipline. And now... He gestured vaguely at her stomach. Corporate life makes you soft. His wife giggled again. More heads turned. More stares. Jennifer's hand curled into a fist under the table. She could handle this professionally. Could deliver a cutting response that would make him regret ever approaching her. I'd suggest, a voice cut to the restaurant. Cold, quiet, absolutely lethal. That you apologize to the lady and remove yourself from this establishment before I remove you myself. Every person in the restaurant froze. A man emerged from a private booth near the back. The kind of booth that cost extra. That came with privacy screens and dedicated service. Tall, easily 6 feet, wearing a black suit, Korean mid-30s, with a face that belonged on magazine covers. Sharp cheekbone, intense dark eyes, a mouth set in a line that suggested smiling was a rare and dangerous event. But it wasn't his appearance that made the restaurant go silent. It was the authority he radiated. The absolute certainty that his words would be obeyed. Jennifer's breath caught. Something about him. The way he moved. The set of his shoulders, the controlled violence in his posture. Trigger memories she couldn't quite grasp. Familiar, but impossible. The man crossed the restaurant with measured steps, each one deliberate. Samuel had gone pale. His wife's giggling cut off mid-sound. I didn't mean any offense, Samuel stammered. You didn't mean to publicly humiliate a woman you haven't seen in 7 years? The man's voice remained perfectly calm, which somehow made it more terrifying. You didn't mean for everyone in this restaurant to hear you call her fat? Then what exactly did you mean? It was just... We're old friends. It was a joke. Jokes are meant to be funny. That was cruel. The man stopped directly in front of Samuel, and despite being roughly the same height, he somehow seemed to tower over him. You have 10 seconds to apologize sincerely and leave. After that, I'll have my people escort you out in a manner you won't enjoy. The threat hung in the air, unambiguous. Samuel's face cycled through emotions, confusion, fear, recognition. Because clearly he knew who this man was, what he was capable of. I'm sorry, Samuel blurted, looking at Jennifer with wide, frightened eyes. I'm really sorry, it was stupid. I wasn't thinking. Not to me. The man's voice dropped even lower. To her. Jennifer, I apologize truly. That was completely inappropriate. Samuel grabbed his wife's hand and practically fled toward the exit, stumbling in his haste. Silence blanketed the restaurant. Then the man turned to Jennifer, and his expression transformed. The cold authority melted into something warmer, concerned. Are you all right? Jennifer looked up at him, and the world tilted sideways. No, it couldn't be. But those eyes, dark, intense, seeing too much. That voice, deep controlled, with a rasp that had whispered her name in the dark. Those hands, long fingers, callous in specific places she'd memorized during one perfect night. Kong. Except Kong had been different. Softer somehow, less polished. His hair had been longer, unstyled. He'd worn casual clothes, spoken differently, carried himself like someone trying not to be noticed. This man was all edges and authority. Expensive suit, styled hair, the bearing of someone who'd never tried to hide in his life. But the eyes were the same. Oh, God, Her voice came out strangled. Yes, thank you. You didn't have to. Yes, I did. He glanced at Tabo and Nality, who were staring at him like he'd materialized from another dimension. I apologize for the scene. I can't abide men who think they can speak to women that way. His gaze returned to Jennifer, and something flickered in his expression. Recognition. Satisfaction. "Have we met before?" he asked, his tone casual, curious. It was a test. She knew it instantly, the way she'd known during interrogations and intelligence work when someone was lying. He was testing whether she'd tell the truth. But which truth? That she recognized him as Kong from Cape Town? Or that she didn't recognize this polished, dangerous version of the man she'd slept with? Her mind raced. If this was Kong, and everything in her body was screaming that it was, then he'd lied about his identity in Cape Town, used a fake name, maybe a fake entire persona, which meant he was someone who needed to hide, someone dangerous, and she was carrying his child. "I don't think so," she heard herself say, matching his casual tone. "I'd remember." Something flashed in his eyes, disappointment? Amusement? It was gone too quickly to identify. "Strange," he murmured, still holding her gaze. "You seem incredibly familiar. Because you made love to me for 6 hours straight and left before sunrise without a word." She thought wildly. "I have one of those faces," she said. "No." His mouth curved slightly, not quite a smile, but close, devastatingly close. "You really don't." Nality cleared her throat, breaking the tension. "We're very grateful for your intervention, Mr. Jang Kyung." He pulled a business card from his jacket, black, minimalist, embossed lettering, and offered it to Jennifer, not Nality. "And there's no need for gratitude. I simply can't tolerate that kind of behavior." Jennifer took the card with fingers that trembled slightly. The name meant nothing to her, but clearly it meant something to Tabo, whose face had gone carefully blank in a way that meant, "Danger. Pay attention. Can we buy you a drink?" Nality offered. "As thanks. I wouldn't want to impose on your celebration." "You wouldn't be," Jennifer heard herself say, because she needed to know, needed to confirm whether this was really Kong, whether the father of her baby was sitting in this restaurant pretending to be a stranger. "Then I'd be honored." Jang Kyung gestured to a server with the subtle authority of someone who'd never been ignored in his life. "Please, bring whatever they'd like, and move their bill to my account." "That's really not necessary," Tabo started. "I insist." Kyung pulled out the chair Samuel had vacated and sat down with the fluid grace of a predator settling into position. "I'm always happy to meet fellow professionals in the security sector." "You're in security?" Jennifer asked, though she suspected the answer was far more complicated. "Logistics, primarily. Import-export operations across Asia and Africa. But security is crucial to that work, protecting shipments, assessing risks, managing threats." His eyes held hers. "I imagine your expertise is quite valuable in that arena. I do corporate risk assessment, vulnerability audits, threat analysis, security protocol development." Impressive credentials. He accepted a glass of whiskey from the server without breaking eye contact with her. "Where were you trained?" "South African National Defense Force. Intelligence Division. Military intelligence." Something shifted in his expression. Respect, recognition. That explains the composure. Most people would still be shaken after that encounter. "You're completely steady." Because she was too busy being shaken by him to waste energy on Samuel. "Occupational training," she said. "You learn to compartmentalize." "A useful skill." He raised his glass slightly in her direction. "To compartmentalize in chance encounters." She lifted her sparkling water, meeting his toast while her heart hammered against her ribs. This was insane. She was sitting across from the father of her unborn child, and he was pretending they'd never met, testing her, playing some game she didn't understand. Unless she was wrong. Unless this wasn't Kong at all, just someone who resembled him. But no, the resemblance was too perfect. The way he looked at her, like she was a puzzle he was solving, was exactly the same. "So, Jennifer," Kyung said, settling back in his chair with casual confidence. "Are you staying in so long?" "I haven't decided. I finished a contract recently, and I'm considering opportunities here." "What kind of opportunities?" "Corporate security, consulting. A few firms have reached out." He swirled his whiskey thoughtfully. May I be direct? Please. I find myself in need of someone with your particular skill set. Security assessment for my operations, comprehensive analysis of vulnerabilities, threat evaluation, protocol enhancement. The position would be lucrative and challenging. He paused. Also potentially dangerous, depending on your definition of acceptable risk. Tabo's eyes went wide. This was a job he'd mentioned earlier, the gray areas position. What kind of danger are we talking about? Jennifer asked. The kind that comes with operating in competitive industries where some competitors prefer elimination to innovation. His tone remained conversational, but the meaning was clear. I won't pretend my business is without risks, but I protect my people extensively. And by protect, you mean? I mean that anyone who works for me becomes untouchable. My resources, my security, my full support. In exchange, I expect loyalty and discretion. It sounded like a job offer. It felt like something else entirely. I'd need more information before making any decisions, she said carefully. Of course. Have dinner with me tomorrow evening. I'll answer every question you have about the position, my operations, anything you want to know. No pressure, just honest conversation. His eyes held hers with uncomfortable intensity. What do you say? Every instinct, she had screamed danger. This man was not safe. Whatever he did, whoever he really was, it was wrapped in violence and secrets. But he might be the father of her baby. And she needed to know. Tomorrow evening, she agreed. Excellent. I'll send a car at 7. He stood, buttoning his jacket with practiced ease. It's been a pleasure meeting you all. Enjoy your evening. He inclined his head to Tabo and Nality, then looked at Jennifer one last time. Until tomorrow. Then he was gone, moving through the restaurant with that same predatory grace, disappearing into the soul night. The moment he was out of earshot, Nality grabbed Jennifer's arm hard enough to bruise. Tell me you know what you're doing. I really don't. That's Jang Yong, Tabo said urgently, his voice low. Do you understand what that means? Should I? Tabo glanced around, ensuring no one was listening. He's one of the most powerful men in Seoul's underworld, runs a massive logistics empire, shipping, import-export real estate, all technically legal, but everyone knows he controls half the gray market operations in Korea. Weapons, information, high-value goods. If you need something moved across borders, quietly you go to him. Jennifer's stomach turned to ice. He's a criminal. He's untouchable, Nality corrected. Police can't touch him. Prosecutors can't touch him. Even his competitors rarely move against him directly because he's too well-connected and too ruthless when provoked. And he just offered you a job, Tabo added, which means he wants something from you. Something specific. He said security assessment. He said that, yes, but men like Jang Kyung don't personally recruit consultants for routine security work. If he sought you out specifically, Tabo shook his head. Jennifer, please be careful. Whatever he wants, it's not simple. She looked at the business card still in her hand, black, minimalist, just a name and number. No company, no title, no details. Jang Kyung, not Kong, never Kong. He'd lied to her in Cape Town, used a false identity, slept with her, disappeared. And now he was here in Seoul, pretending not to know her, while offering her a job. Why? I'll be careful, she promised her friends, though she had no idea if that was possible. Because if Jang Kyung was really Kong, then the father of her baby was a Korean Mafia boss, and he'd just asked her to dinner. Jennifer made it back to her hotel room, a modest but comfortable space in Gangnam, and collapsed onto bed fully clothed. Her hands were shaking now. The adrenaline that kept her steady through dinner, through Samuel's cruelty, through Kyung's appearance, was finally crashing. Jang Kyung, Korean Mafia boss, father of my baby. Maybe. She still wasn't 100% certain. The resemblance was uncanny, but people had doppelgangers. Maybe Kong had been someone else entirely, and she was projecting because her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She stared at it for 3 rings before answering. Hello, Dr. Park. A woman's voice, professional, Korean accented. I'm calling on behalf of Mr. Jang Kyung. He'd like to provide additional details about tomorrow's dinner arrangement. May I confirm your hotel address for car service? Jennifer's mouth went dry. How did you get this number? A pause. Mr. Jang has access to comprehensive resources. Shall I confirm the Grand Intercontinental, room 1847? She hadn't told him her hotel name. Definitely hadn't mentioned her room number. How do you know where I'm staying? As I said, comprehensive resources. The car will arrive at 7 p.m. tomorrow. Mr. Jang suggests business casual attire. Do you have any dietary restrictions we should be aware of? This was insane. He was having her tracked, or had already been tracking her before tonight. She should say no. Should hang up, block the number, avoid dinner entirely. No dietary restrictions, she heard herself say. Excellent. Have a pleasant evening, Dr. Park. The line went dead. Jennifer stared at her phone, heart racing. Comprehensive resources. That was a polite way of saying we know everything about you. She pulled up her laptop, opened an incognito browser window, and typed, Jang Kyung-sol. The results made her blood run cold. Articles in Korean and English. Business profiles. Society page mentions. And underneath the legitimate coverage, forum posts and Reddit threads speculating about his real operations. Jang Kyung, the untouchable logistics king. How one man controls Seoul's gray market. The shipping empire built on secrets. She clicked through, reading quickly. 34 years old. Took over his father's legitimate shipping business at 19 after his father was killed in what police ruled a business dispute. Expanded aggressively across Asia and Africa. No criminal convictions despite numerous investigations. Rumored connections to everything from weapons trafficking to information brokerage. And there were photos. Dozens of them. Jang Kyung at charity galas, wearing tuxedos and making speeches about youth education initiatives. At business conferences, shaking hands with politicians and CEOs. At restaurant openings, nightclub launches, always impeccably dressed, always surrounded by beautiful people and powerful figures. In every single photo, his expression was controlled, pleasant, revealing absolutely nothing. Jennifer zoomed in on one image, a candid shot from some society event. He was listening to someone speak, his head tilted slightly, and for just a moment his eyes had that same intense focus she remembered from Cape Town, from Kong. It was him. She was certain now, which meant he'd lied about everything. His name, his life, probably his reasons for being in Cape Town. And now he was here, pretending not to recognize her, while knowing exactly who she was and where she was staying. Her phone buzzed again, different number, also unknown. She answered warily. Yes, Jennifer. Tabo's voice, tight with urgency. Don't go to that dinner tomorrow. Tabo. I just got a call from a friend at the Korean National Police. Someone put in a background check request on you 2 hours ago. Comprehensive search. International databases, everything. The request came from a private security firm that everyone knows is staffed by Jang Kyung's people. He's investigating me? He already investigated you. This was updating the file. Which means he knew about you before tonight, Jennifer. Before the restaurant. He didn't just randomly intervene. He was already watching you. Her stomach dropped. Why would he be watching me? That's what you need to figure out before you get in a car with him tomorrow. Because men like Jang Kyung don't waste resources tracking random security consultants unless they want something specific. Maybe it's really just about the job. Then why not approach you professionally? Why the personal dinner, the car service, the investigation? Jennifer, please. Whatever he wants, it's not simple. She ended the call, her mind racing. Kyung had been watching her, hadn't known who she was before tonight. The restaurant intervention hadn't been a chance. It had been calculated, which meant he'd followed her there, had waited for an opportunity to approach. Samuel's cruelty had just provided the perfect excuse. But why? What did he want from her? Unless, no, he couldn't know about the pregnancy. There's no way. But even as she thought it, doubt crept in. If he had comprehensive resources, if he'd been tracking her, investigating her background. Could he have accessed her medical records from Cape Town? A knock at her door made her jump. She wasn't expecting anyone. Hadn't ordered room service. "Who is it?" she called. No answer. Another knock. Harder this time. Jennifer grabbed her phone, ready to call hotel security, and approached the door carefully. Looked through the peephole. 3 men in black suits stood in the hallway. Professional, alert, clearly not hotel staff. Her pulse spiked. "Dr. Park," one of them said, his voice carrying through the door. "Mr. Jang requests your immediate presence. Please come with us." 30 minutes. Just like Tabo had warned. Men like Jang Kyung didn't wait for dinner reservations when they wanted something. "I'm not going anywhere," she called back. "If Mr. Jang wants to speak with me, he can call like a normal person." Mr. Jang prefers to speak in person. His car is waiting downstairs. "This isn't a request, Dr. Park." "It sounds like a request." "I'm declining." A pause. Then, "Mr. Jang anticipated your resistance. He asked me to tell you that he has information about your time in Cape Town. Specifically, about someone you met there. Someone you've been trying to find." Jennifer's blood turned to ice. He knew. About Kong. About their night together. Which meant he knew he was Kong. 5 minutes, the man continued. "You can come willingly, or we can wait here while you call hotel security and discover that Mr. Jang owns a significant stake in this hotel chain. Either way, you'll have this conversation tonight." Her hands were shaking again. Not from fear, from fury. He manipulated everything. The restaurant, the job offer, this entire situation. He'd been hunting her, and she'd been completely blind to it. 2 minutes to get dressed," she said through the door. "Then I'm coming out. And if any of you touch me without permission, I'll break bones." "Understood." "Understood, Dr. Park. Mr. Jang instructed us to treat you with utmost respect." How generous. Jennifer changed quickly. Traded her dinner dress for jeans, boots, a jacket with pockets where she could keep her phone accessible. Grabbed her small canister of pepper spray from her purse. Tucked it into her pocket. If Keon wanted to play games, she'd be ready. She opened the door. The 3 men were exactly as intimidating as she'd expected. Tall, built, wearing earpieces and expressions that suggested they'd seen significant violence. But they stepped back when she emerged, giving her space. "This way, Dr. Park." They escorted her through the hotel. Not to the main lobby, but to a private elevator that required a key card, down to an underground garage where a black Mercedes waited, engine running. One of the men opened the back door. "Please." Jennifer slid into the back seat, her heart hammering. The interior smelled like leather and expensive cologne. Keong scent, she realized. He'd been in this car recently. The door closed. The car pulled out smoothly, navigating through Seoul's late-night traffic with practiced ease. "Where are we going?" she asked. The driver met her eyes in the rear-view mirror. Mr. Jang's private residence, Hanam-dong. 15 minutes. 15 minutes to prepare for a confrontation with a mafia boss who'd been hunting her for 2 months. Jennifer pulled out her phone, typed a quick message to Tabo. "Jang Kyung sent men to my hotel. Being taken to his residence in Hanam-dong. If you don't hear from me by midnight, call the police." His response came immediately. "Jennifer, what the hell? I'll explain later. Just remember, midnight." She sent the message, then tucked her phone into her pocket and watched Seoul blur past the windows. Whatever Keon wanted, she was about to find out. And God helped them both if her suspicions were correct. Because if Jang Keon really was Kong, if he really was a father of her baby, then she'd just walked into the tiger's den. And tigers didn't let go once they'd found their prey. The penthouse occupied the entire top floor of a building in Hanam-dong, one of Seoul's wealthiest neighborhoods. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the Han River, the city glittering like scattered diamonds in every direction. Jennifer stepped out of the private elevator directly into the penthouse, escorted by the same 3 men who'd collected her from the hotel. They gestured her forward, then retreated back into the elevator, leaving her alone in the vast space. "Hello," she called out. "In here." Ki-young's voice came from somewhere to the left. She followed it through a minimalist living area. Expensive furniture, abstract art that probably cost six figures, everything designed for impact rather than comfort, until she found him in what looked like a study. He stood by floor-to-ceiling windows, still wearing the same black suit from the restaurant, holding a glass of whiskey. His back was to her, his reflection visible in the glass. "Thank you for coming," he said without turning around. "I don't recall having much choice." "You always have a choice, Jennifer. You could have refused, called the police, made a scene. But you didn't. You came. Why?" "Because you said you have information about someone I met in Cape Town." "Ah, yes. Kong." Now he turned, and his expression was unreadable. "Tell me about him." Her pulse hammered. "Why?" "Indulge me." She could lie. Should lie. But something in his eyes, a challenge, a dare, made her meet it head on. "I met him at a hotel bar," she said slowly. 2 months ago. We talked for hours. There was... She paused, choosing words carefully. Chemistry. We spent the night together. In the morning, he was gone. No note, no number, no way to contact him. Just a first name that I'm guessing was fake. Why do you think it was fake? Because I've spent 2 months trying to find someone named Kong, who was in Cape Town in early September, and that search led absolutely nowhere. Almost like the person I met didn't actually exist. Keong's mouth curved slightly. And if he did exist, if he'd been using an alias for professional reasons, then I want to know why he disappeared, without a word, and why he's playing games now instead of just admitting who he is. Games! He set down his whiskey, moved closer. "Is that what you think this is?" "Isn't it? The restaurant wasn't coincidence. You follow me there. The have we met question was a test. Everything tonight has been you pulling strings while I'm supposed to stay blind to the manipulation. Not manipulation. Observation." He stopped a few feet away, close enough that she could smell his cologne, the same scent from Cape Town. "I wanted to see if you'd tell the truth. If you'd recognize me. If you'd admit what happened between us. And now that you know I won't lie, now I can stop pretending I don't remember every second of that night." His voice dropped, intimate and dangerous. "How you looked in that dim hotel room. How you tasted. How you said my name, my real name, when I made you come undone." Heat flooded her face. "I never said your real name. You told me to call you Kong. You said, please, in Korean. Do you remember that? Right at the end, when you were too far gone for English. J-ball, like a prayer." She did remember. God, she remembered everything. "Why did you lie?" she asked, her voice rough. "Why use a fake name?" "Because I was in Cape Town for business that required discretion. I couldn't afford to be recognized. Using an alias was necessary. And sleeping with me? Was that necessary too?" His expression shifted, something raw breaking through the control. "No, that was the least necessary, most reckless thing I've done in years. I saw you in that bar, and I couldn't walk away. Spent 2 hours telling myself all the reasons I should leave, and then you laughed at something the bartender said, and I was lost. So you slept with me and disappeared. I had to leave before dawn. My flight was early. My presence in Cape Town couldn't be documented. I meant to leave my number, meant to find a way to contact you afterward. But when I tried..." He paused. "You checked out of your hotel 2 hours after I left. Disappeared completely. No forwarding information, no trail. I finished my contract early. Flew back to Johannesburg. I know. I spent the next month trying to find you. Jennifer Park, security consultant, former South African National Defense Force. You're not easy to track when you don't want to be found. But you found me eventually. 3 weeks ago. My people finally traced you to Seoul through the conference registration. I've been keeping an eye on you since you arrived." The admission should have terrified her. Instead, it explained the sensation she'd had for days, of being watched, followed, never quite alone. "Why?" she asked. "Why go to all this effort?" It was one night. Because that one night has haunted me for 2 months. He moved closer, and she forced herself not to step back. Because I built an empire on control and calculation, and you made me lose both. Because I couldn't stop thinking about you. And that's never happened before. His hand lifted, slowly, giving her time to pull away, and brush her cheek with his knuckles. The touch sent electricity down her spine. And because he continued, his voice dropping to barely above a whisper, "I know you're pregnant." The world stopped. Jennifer's breath caught in her throat. "What?" "I know, Jennifer. I've known since I found you in Seoul. My people are very thorough. They access your medical records from Cape Town. 14 weeks. Conception timeline matches our night together perfectly. Rage and fear and something dangerously close to relief warred in her chest. You had no right. I had every right." His hand moved to her jaw, tilting her face up to meet his eyes. "The moment you conceived my child, you became mine to protect, mine to watch over, mine." The possessiveness in his voice should have sent her running. Instead, her traitorous body leaned into his touch. "I'm not yours," she said, but it came out weak. "Aren't you?" His thumb brushed her lower lip. "Your body recognizes me. Right now. Your pulse is racing. Your breathing has changed. You're fighting now to close the distance between us. Because we're not strangers, Jennifer. We never were. One night doesn't give you ownership. Our child does." His other hand moved to her stomach, spreading over the slight curve with devastating gentleness. "You're carrying my baby. Do you really think I'm going to let you face that alone? Let you disappear again? Let my child grow up not knowing their father?" Tears pricked her eyes, hormones and exhaustion, and the weight of 2 months' secrets finally crashing down. "I didn't know how to find you. I tried, but Kong doesn't exist and I had no way. I know. I'm not angry. I'm here now." He pulled her closer, his hand still on her stomach. "We're here now, and I'm not letting either of you go. You can't just decide that. I can and I have." His forehead lowered to rest against hers. "I've spent 2 months going insane trying to find you. 2 months imagining every scenario, every possibility. And now you're here, carrying my child, and you think I'm going to let you walk away? Never, Jennifer. Never. Your world is dangerous. You said so yourself, the job offer, the risks. Which is why you and our baby will be the most protected people in Seoul. I'll burn down anyone who threatens you. I'll restructure my entire operation, if necessary. Whatever it takes to keep you safe. That's insane." "Yes," he said it simply, matter-of-factly. "I'm aware, but I looked at you in Cape Town and recognized something I didn't know I was searching for. And now you're carrying the proof of that night, and I'm not sane enough to be reasonable about it." Jennifer's hands had somehow ended up on his chest, feeling his heartbeat through the expensive fabric. "I don't even know you, the real you." "Then stay. Learn me. Let me learn you. Properly this time, with lights on and real names, and no disappearing at dawn." His voice was gentle. "I know I'm asking for trust one haven't earned. I know my world is terrifying, but I'm asking anyway. Stay, Jennifer. Choose this. Choose us. And if I say no," pain flickered across his features, "then I'll respect it. I won't force you, but I'll still protect you from a distance. Still make sure you and our baby have everything you need. Still hope that eventually you'll give me another chance." The sincerity in his voice undid something inside her. This man, this dangerous, powerful, utterly overwhelming man, was offering her everything. Protection, support, himself. And God help her. She wanted it. Wanted him. Had wanted him since Cape Town, if she was honest. The pregnancy had just made the wanting more complicated. "I need time," she whispered. "To think. To process all of this. Take all the time you need, but take it here." His thumb brushed her cheekbone. "Stay in the guest room tonight. Tomorrow we'll talk properly. Figure out what comes next. No pressure, no expectations. Just don't leave yet." She should refuse. Should insist on going back to her hotel, maintaining distance, thinking clearly. But exhaustion pulled at her bones, and his hands on her felt like coming home, and she was so tired of being alone with the secret. "One night," she agreed. "Just a night. Just tonight? He echoed, but his eyes said forever. He led her to a bedroom down the hall. Spacious, comfortable, with an en-suite bathroom and a view of the Han River that took her breath away. Everything you need should be here, he said from the doorway. Clothes in the closet, toiletries in the bathroom. If you need anything else, I'm just down the hall. Kyung. She turned to face him. Why me? Really? You could have anyone. He was quiet for a long moment. Then, because you walked into that hotel bar in Cape Town looking like you just fought a war and won. Because you laughed at the bartender's terrible jokes like they were the funniest thing you'd ever heard. Because when I told you I did dangerous work, you didn't flinch. You asked if I was good at it. He paused. Because I looked at you and saw someone who wouldn't try to change me, just challenge me to be better. And I've been looking for that my entire life without knowing it. Then he was gone, closing the door softly behind him, leaving Jennifer alone with her racing thoughts and the impossible reality of her situation. She was in a mafia boss's penthouse, carrying his baby, and despite every logical reason to run, she wanted to stay. Jennifer woke to sunlight streaming through unfamiliar windows and the scent of coffee drifting from somewhere nearby. For a moment, she was disoriented. This wasn't her hotel room, wasn't Cape Town, wasn't anywhere she recognized. Then memory crashed back. The restaurant, Kyung's intervention, being summoned to his penthouse, his confession that he'd been searching for her. I know you're pregnant. I've known since I found you in Seoul. She sat up slowly, one hand going instinctively to her stomach. 14 weeks. The baby was the size of a lemon according to the last ultrasound, growing steadily, utterly unaware of the complicated world they were being born into. A knock at the door made her jump. Come in, she called, pulling the blanket up self-consciously even though she was fully clothed in the borrowed pajamas she'd found in the closet. Kyung entered carrying a tray, coffee, juice, toast, fruit arranged with surprising thoughtfulness. He'd changed from last night's suit into casual clothes, black pants, a simple white shirt, sleeves rolled up to reveal forearms that her traitorous memory remembered in vivid detail. Good morning, he said, setting the tray on the bedside table. I wasn't sure what you'd want, so I brought options. The coffee is decaf. I checked the pregnancy guidelines. The casual mention of pregnancy guidelines, like he'd been researching, made something in her chest tighten. Thank you, she managed. He sat on the edge of the bed, not close enough to crowd her, but near enough that she could feel his warmth. How did you sleep? Better than expected, honestly. Your guest bed is very comfortable. Good. I want you comfortable here. He paused. I also want you to know that I meant what I said last night, about respecting your choices. If you want to leave right now, go back to your hotel. Take time to think. I'll have my driver take you. No manipulation, no games. She studied his face, looking for the lie, the angle, found only sincerity. And if I stay, then we talk. Really talk. You ask me anything you want about my life, my work, what being with me would actually mean. I'll answer honestly, the good and the terrifying. Then you decide if you can handle it. Why the sudden transparency? Because you're carrying my child. Because you deserve to make an informed choice. Because... He looked away, jaw tightening. Because my father kept secrets from my mother. Told her the business was legitimate when it wasn't. When he was killed, she had no preparation, no protection, no understanding of the danger she was in. I won't do that to you. The pain in his voice was raw, real. Jennifer reached out instinctively, her hand covering his. How old were you? She asked gently. When he died. 19. Old enough to take over the business. Young enough to make every mistake possible while learning. His hand turned over, lacing their fingers together. He was murdered by a rival. Business dispute that turned personal. They wanted to send a message. They succeeded. I'm sorry. Don't be. He made choices that led to his death. But my mother, his voice roughened. She didn't deserve to be collateral damage. She died 6 months later, officially a car accident, but I've always suspected it was revenge disguised as misfortune. Kyung. So, yes, I'm being transparent. Because I won't have you walking into danger blindly. If you choose this, Choose me. You'll know exactly what you're choosing. Jennifer looked at their joined hands, his larger, scarred across the knuckles from violence she could only imagine. Hers smaller, softer, marked only by a small scar from a training accident years ago. Opposites in every way except the one that mattered. They created a life together. Ask me, Kyung said quietly. Whatever you want to know. So she did. Your business. How much of it is actually legal? 60% legitimate. 40% gray areas. I move high-value goods across borders for clients who prefer discretion. Sometimes that's perfectly legal but sensitive. Sometimes it's not. Weapons. Occasionally. Never chemical or biological. I have lines I don't cross. But conventional weapons for buyers I vetted. Yes. Drugs. No. Never. That industry destroys too many lives. People trafficking? His expression went deadly cold. Never. I've killed men for attempting to use my logistics network for that purpose. It's the one thing I have zero tolerance for. The casual mention of killing should have terrified her. Instead, she found herself oddly reassured that he had principles, even violent ones. How many people work for you? Directly? About 200. Indirectly, through various companies and operations, probably closer to 1,000. And they all know what you really do. The inner circle knows. The outer layers think they work for a legitimate shipping empire. Compartmentalization keeps everyone safer. Have you ever been arrested? 3 times. Never charged. My lawyers are very good, and I'm careful about evidence. Do you hurt people who cross you? He didn't answer immediately. When he did, his voice was quiet. Yes, when necessary. I try to resolve conflicts through negotiation first. Violence is expensive and draws attention. But when someone threatens my people or my operations, I respond proportionally. Proportionally meaning? Meaning if they break a contract, I destroy their business. If they steal from me, I take everything they value. If they try to kill me or mine, his eyes met hers, unflinching. I eliminate the threat permanently. She should be horrified, should be running for the door. Instead, she asked, have you killed people yourself? Or do you delegate that? Both. I've killed 3 men personally, all in situations where it was them or me. I've ordered deaths maybe a dozen times over 15 years. Each one still keeps me awake some nights. The honesty was almost more disturbing than the admission. Why are you telling me this? She whispered. You could lie. Make yourself sound better. Because you're about to become the mother of my child. You'll be tied to me for the rest of our lives, regardless of whether we're together romantically. You deserve to know exactly who I am, so you can protect yourself and our baby if necessary. Protect us from you? From the consequences of being connected to me. My enemies, my risks, the danger that follows me. His hand tightened on hers. I meant what I said. I'll protect you with everything I have, but I can't guarantee your safety 100%. No one can. All I can do is be honest about the risks and trust you to make your own choice. Jennifer was quiet for a long moment, processing. Then, what do you want, Kyung? From me, from this situation? Everything, he said simply. I want you to stay in Seoul. Move into this penthouse or somewhere else you feel safe. Your choice. I want to be involved in every aspect of this pregnancy. Doctor's appointments, decisions, preparing for the baby. I want... He paused, vulnerability crossing his features. I want to build something real with you. Not just co-parenting, but actual partnership. I know that's asking for a lot given the circumstances, but I'm greedy when it comes to you. And if I can't give you everything, if I need time, space boundaries, then I'll take whatever you're willing to offer and be grateful for it. His thumb brushed over her knuckles. I'm not going to force anything, Jennifer, but I will pursue you. I'll show up for you and our baby. I'll prove I can be someone you trust. And I'll hope that eventually you'll want the same thing I do, which is you, me, our child, a family built on honesty instead of secrets. He lifted her hand to his lips, pressed a kiss to her knuckles that made her breath catch. I know my world is terrifying, but But I swear to you, I'll move heaven and earth to keep you and our baby safe. That's not a promise I make lightly. Jennifer looked at him. Really looked. Saw the dangerous mafia boss everyone feared. Saw the man who'd made her laugh in a Cape Town hotel bar. Saw the father who'd researched pregnancy guidelines and brought her decaf coffee. Saw someone who could destroy her life or give her something extraordinary, and she couldn't predict which. I need time, she said finally, to think about everything you've told me, to figure out what I want. How much time? I don't know. A few days? A week? Take a month if you need it. But let me keep you safe while you think. Move into my guest room, or I'll set you up in a secure apartment nearby. Let my people watch over you. Because whether or not you choose me, you're carrying my child, and I won't risk either of you. It should feel controlling. Instead, it felt like relief. Having someone else share the burden of protection, of worry, of all the things she'd been carrying alone for 2 months. Guest room, she agreed. For now, but I want my own space, my own autonomy. I'm not a prisoner. Never. His expression softened. You're the mother of my child. He paused, searching for words. You're the woman who's had me in knots for 2 months. You're free to come and go as you please. I just ask that you let security accompany you when you leave. For my peace of mind. Okay, she whispered. Okay, I'll stay. We'll figure this out together. The relief that washed over his face was almost devastating. He pulled her hand to his chest, pressing it over his heart, so she could feel how hard it was pounding. Thank you, he said roughly. Thank you for giving me this chance. Then he stood, putting careful distance between them, rebuilding the control she'd watched crack. Eat breakfast. Then we'll discuss logistics, getting your things from the hotel, setting up a workspace if you want to keep consulting, doctor's appointments. His mouth curved slightly. Welcome to my world, Jennifer. I promise to make it worth the chaos. He left before she could respond, closing the door softly behind him. Jennifer sat in his guest bed, hand on her stomach, and wondered what the hell she'd just agreed to. But deep down, beneath the fear and uncertainty, she felt something she hadn't felt in 2 months. Hope. Maybe this could work. Maybe they could build something real from one reckless night, and a baby neither of them had planned. Maybe loving a dangerous man didn't have to end in tragedy. Or maybe she was walking straight into disaster with her eyes wide open. Either way, she was done running. For better or worse, she'd chosen Jang Kyung. Now she just had to survive the consequences.